thought it would be a good idea to jump on real quick and wish everyone a happy Independence Day. And while doing so, give a little shout out to Convention Estates. There's hopefully some activity coming up shortly, so we want to talk a little bit about that to our people in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and really the eastern coast there. There's some action hopefully coming up in the next few weeks, uh, hopefully in the next few days with any luck. But my first point of mention would be just to go ahead and offer that to you. So happy Independence Day. Hope you're having your barbecues. I hope I'm not interrupting your beer, because I know this is definitely an interruption for my adult beverages. However, you guys are worth it, and I wanted to just make sure that I came on and showed some love. So, that being said, Pennsylvania, to my folks in Pennsylvania, to all of our cause peeps in the grassroots, Ohio, you guys are probably, and maybe New Jersey too, you guys are probably coming up shortly. So on Independence Day, I thought there'd be no better message to give than to get active. And this would be, if you have not already, make sure you sign the petition, and you can do that right from our website, thepatriotthinktank.com/COS. We'll take you right to the page with the Convention of States Action link, and then you can go there and sign the petition. To those of you who may watch this and say, well, George, what is this cause? What is this Convention of States you speak of? And what is the magic therein? Well, the magic therein is that this is how the American people play offense. So it has become a big thing for us recently, Jack and myself, to get everyone on board and start playing offense and stop complaining about all of these different things that are going on in our country, and the way things are degrading and seem to be hopeless and out of control with the overspending, with these regulatory agencies taking control everywhere. Yes, we got a few victories here with the Supreme Court, but even that is, that's a fragile thing, right? I mean, we were one election away from losing a couple of the amendments in the Bill of Rights, and so in the end, it's important, especially now on Independence Day, to really focus in and dial in. And what Article 5 will let us do, for those that don't understand, it is Article 5 of our Constitution outlines how amendments can be made to the United States Constitution. And in doing so, it provides two options. One is the way that we've provided, um, the first 27, really, because I think the Bill of Rights, I don't want to get into the history of it now, but I think the Bill of Rights is also the product of what really essentially was a convention. But that being said, um, it gives the original way is two-thirds of the House, two-thirds of Congress will all vote. And then once doing so, if they'll approve the language of what the amendment should say, etc., and then it goes to the states, in which case three-quarters of the states must go ahead and ratify it. So the other way, this is the less known way, and really the ultimate safeguard for we the people, placed in by the founders, was to call a convention. And this basically allows for the states to write resolutions, submit them to Congress, requesting that a convention of states be called, and it requires two-thirds of the states, the same way it does in the House and the Senate. It requires two-thirds of the states to agree on the subject matter, the topics, and write their resolutions and present them to Congress, at which point Congress shall call the convention. So Congress, this is where the real beauty of this comes, is that Congress really has no control over this at all. The federal government doesn't at all. The courts don't. No executive. The federal government is just eliminated for the most part from this process. And the reason why that's so, the reason why the federal government is not engaged in this process, is because its intention, the real reason why such a convention would ever be called, would be to curb the power of the federal government. If that not be the case, there's really no need to call a convention. You can just have the House and Senate vote on it the way they have traditionally. But what the founders understood is that what would happen, really the anti-federalists understood this. This is why you want more than one opinion in the room. And really, what they understood, and George Mason in particular was the greatest proponent of, was what happens when the federal government gets crazy, as he verily believed it would. So says Madison in his notes. Now, in those notes, if you want to look it up, I believe were September 15th, 1787. But that being said, Madison just notes in there that Mason verily believed that the federal government would get out of control. And in that light, which he was obviously, as we know now, correct, in that light, he thought it would be prudent to have a way for the people and the states to be able to propose amendments without having to ask permission from Congress. As Congress, if it were the case that they had grown too powerful, it was not reasonable to him to think that Congress or any federal agency, for that matter, would propose amendments that usurped its own power. So that's the reason why Article 5 was written, and the reason why we are proponents of it now is because it's necessary now. And the topics that are involved are really bipartisan topics. They're not they're not they're not crazy, heated, controversial topics. The topics are term limits for all federal officials. That would include, staffers and deep state people, and not just the elected people. And then the second one is government overreach. All right. Well, you could put them in whatever order you want, but government overreach is another one, and that one would stop this regulatory agency madness. Now, it appears right now that the courts are helping us with that. It appears that the courts are helping to alleviate some of this regulatory power, as we finally seem to have, despite there being conservative courts in the past, we finally seem to have the one group that truly is looking at things from a constitutional standpoint. And I think it's very important that that continue to be the case, because as long as we're in the situation where where we're dependent on the courts, then we got to hope to God that we have courts that are solid and are going to focus on the Constitution. It's been a while since we've had a full stream of justices that were willing to do that. And why? Because there was always Justice Roberts there before him, Kennedy, who would wishy-washy with the Constitution based on whether or not the courts would look political. And frankly, that should never be their concern. It's either constitutional or it's not. So, with that being said, hold on one second. If you see me a little distracted, it's because I am producing at the same time that I am I am speaking. So, with that being said, the third way is fiscal restraints. And the fiscal restraints, this probably, in the immediate sense, would probably have the most impact. And, well, I don't know. I mean, they're all pretty impactful, aren't they? Right? Term limits would just eliminate the Mitch McConnells and the Nancy Pelosi's from Congress, and then the overreach would eliminate the ability for the EPA to to go crazy on individual citizens, or even unreasonably regulate larger businesses. They'll lose that authority outright. And then the fiscal restraints, to me, though, is a big one, because this brings back our dollar. Right, this brings it back. Now we can pass things like, we can put in the Constitution a balanced budget amendment, right? Where there, and the details of it would likely look, I think in the Liberty amendments, Levin put in some details of what he'd like to see, and it was pretty reasonable as far as his fiscal restraint amendment. Saying if they don't balance the budget, there are punishments in place. They'll lose 5% in the budget from the previous year and things of that nature. But really, it's just a matter of getting, and let's think other things with fiscal restraints. How about overturning the 16th Amendment? Right, that's a big one right there. No more income tax. Right? How many people? Right? How many people believe that income tax was always a thing? That was always something, that's just the way America operates. It is now, but that's not a thing. That's something that was completely anti-American until the left were able to put that amendment in the Constitution to overrule a decade or more of courts saying you cannot tax people's income. You can only tax goods and services. That's it. You cannot tax income. And we want to get back to that, right? Or how about for government overreach, eliminating the 17th Amendment, right? And for those, another one that a lot of people don't know is that we did not always elect our senators directly. They were appointed by our state legislators. And the reason why that brings us closer to liberty than directly electing them is because they're untouchable once they're elected under this current system, under the 17th Amendment. Once you put Mitt Romney in office, even when he goes crazy and acts like a doo-doo, it doesn't make a difference because you can't do anything about it until for 6 years. And that's not a small amount of time. That's a lot of doing, if you will, that he's going to be out there doing. And whereas the way it was designed and the way the founders had set it up, like you can go to your state legislatures and say, hey, this guy's a do. We don't want him in here. We want him gone. And if there's enough people who want him gone, the legislators can pull him and appoint somebody else. All right, that's how it's supposed to work. But that's not how it works now. Because the idea in getting the real idea in getting the 17th Amendment enacted was to make sure that the federal government was one independent group, and that the state did not have direct control over the federal government. Because a senator sitting down and talking nonsense is not going to do so if he knows that he can get pulled at any moment. All right, you're not going to. Liz Cheney would not be a senator right now. She just wouldn't be. They'd have pulled her and we'd be done with it. Romney probably would not be either. Right. So the reality is, right now coming up, we got 19 states on board. We got Pennsylvania. I know New Jersey's trying to move forward, but Pennsylvania and Ohio should be coming up shortly. And those two are a big deal, especially Pennsylvania, because this adage that that Pennsylvania is just this blue state who doesn't care about like this is the example of why this is a nonpartisan issue. All right, more than 50% of Democrats agree that this is not a partisan issue. So it's important that people take time, take a look at it, and realize that these issues are universal. The term limits is not a part of it's not a red thing, right? Term limits, everyone can understand why we need term limits. Everyone can understand that we're spending out of control. Republicans and Democrats are spending out of control. Doesn't matter who you elect. Elections are not going to fix this thing. There's no Superman. No one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves, right? We have to save ourselves. And then, the government overreach again, this is the way, folks. These types of changes are sweeping, they're big, and they attack the issues the real issues that we have. And that's what we need to be focused on, the real issues. Not Biden falling down the stairs or slipping off his bike, or even Klaus saying New World Order and Great Reset and all, like even those sociopaths. All of it falls together when we take control of this country. And the way to exert our power is to do it through Article 5. Because once that's done, let's say the states don't even ratify, let's say they ratify only fiscal restraints, and they decide to themselves that they're not going to ratify term limits, or they're not going to ratify anything else. The mere action, and this goes back to Antonin Scalia, the mere action, right, of getting it done is enough. Is enough. Because the fear mongering that's around the process, and the fear mongering that's being put out there by these doo-doos like the John Birch Society and others, Publius Hulda, and we've knocked out both of them in previous videos. The fear mongering that they put out there will no longer be valid. They can no, and when I say it's not valid now, but at least now they try to sell it because it hasn't been done yet. But once it's been done, then that fear mongering is gone. And then we're in, because now the federal government, the mere threat of a convention is enough to convince the federal government to take action. But we're going to have to hold it. We can't let the federal government take action before, even if they try to take action before this convention is called, it needs to be called anyway, because this needs to get done. The precedent needs to be set. They can't be allowed to walk around saying that, oh, it's never been done, and continue to try and scare people. It needs to get done, if for no other reason, just like Antonin Scalia said in the piece we did with him. He just wants to see it get done regardless of the issue, because he wants to see the procedural questions and all of that thrown away. He wants to see it all gone, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I'm 100% with what he was saying on that, and that's just it's just how it should be. So in the end, right now, Pennsylvania and Ohio, you're probably and New Jersey likely at some point in the near future. You guys are the big deal right now, and there's no better time than to go sign that petition. COS will send a letter out to your representative. Find out who that representative is. Call him. You can go on Ballotpedia and get the information for just about any political figure anywhere. That's ballotpedia.com or .org. But in the end, you go to Ballotpedia, you type in, or even just Google, what district am I in? It'll come up. Give us your address. You put in your address. It'll tell you what district that address is in. And now you know who your representative is. And now you can reach out to that person directly, right? Because state legislatures are not like federal Congress and whatnot. These guys are accessible. Now, they probably won't answer the phone on July 4th, right? But at the same time, they will answer. They will answer. You will get a response. You will get a response to a letter, to any type of communication you try to put out to a state legislator. You will get some sort of response. So it's important that everybody take the initiative and go and do that. And I see we got about eight or 10 people. So happy 4th, everybody across the platforms. We're now on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. So happy Independence Day, everyone. Go and enjoy yourselves, enjoy your family, enjoy the country, enjoy your freedom while we still have it. And make sure you make it an effort to go ahead and sign the petition if you haven't done it already and find out who your local representative is so that you can reach out to that individual. Okay, I see there were another 5 or 6 jumped on. So, hey guys, we're across all platforms today. Just giving that happy Independence Day to everybody. Feel free to drop in the comments anything you want to shout. I am getting all comments from all platforms right now. So, but I just wanted to make sure, number one, I got out to say happy Independence Day. Also, I wanted to bring up our youth. If you're not subscribed, I don't know what platform you're on right now when you're watching this, but if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we are 4 subscribers away. I just pulled it up. We are 4 subscribers away on our YouTube channel to hit that magic 1,000 number, and that's despite being politically oriented, occasionally shadow banned, suspended for more than a month. It's roughly took us 1 year to get there, and we are now 4 subscribers away on YouTube from being able to make that mark. So if you're there, click the bell, click the subscribe, drop a comment. I love to hear from you guys. I always engage the comments, and yeah. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows it because we're so close now. I can smell it, and the 1,000 mark there now. The 10,000 mark, I think, is the target for Facebook. So we've got a little ways to go there. We're about 36 or 3,700 on Facebook. Twitch, we just started a couple of months ago, and Twitch is kind of walking into enemy territory. I spent a little time looking around on Twitch, and I realized, like, this is a pretty Marxist website when it comes to the political stuff on there. But I spent some time there, triggered a few people, got myself deleted off of their page and all that. But and it was actually a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, so 4 subscribers away. So I want to thank everybody because we're going to hit it probably today, if not tomorrow. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed there, as well as our Rumble channel and our Facebook channel, and even Twitch. I think we got like six followers on Twitch. So for even those channels, thank you so much for your support, folks. Make sure you're clicking the bell if you're doing the YouTube thing, because we are going to be watching this Ohio and Pennsylvania situation to see. I, I thought something was going to happen last week. It didn't happen in Pennsylvania, but in the end, like, I'll stay on top of it. We can once something happens, we are going to go live. We will break it down for you. I'm actually already trying to put down a celebratory video that I'm editing just in case, because I do think Pennsylvania will move forward. But the fact that they haven't heard it yet and they were supposed to hear it last week tells me there's still some internal, you know, internal negotiating going on. I believe the issue in Pennsylvania is guns. They think somehow they've been convinced by the Publius holders and the John Birch Society folks that somehow cause is going to come back with is going to create an overturn of the Second Amendment. It's absolutely insane. It's impossible for it to happen. 38 states would never ratify that anyway. But even if they would, it's not on the docket. So it's not something that's going to get discussed. You cannot squeeze the Second Amendment under term limits and government overreach and fiscal restraints. So it's nothing rational to fear, but because many of our legislators don't understand how this works and they don't understand what the process is, so a lot of times the first person to get to them owns their ear. And we've shown the clips before of different legislatures. I think I had them in. Trying to see if I have it here in South Carolina, I believe they were. Yeah, here we go. So here's a perfect example of legislators telling you, like, I was against it too before I studied my way into being for it.
Again, I studied myself from being opposed initially to being supportive because of I saw how significant the framers considered this to rebalance the power between the federal and the state government, and they were very, very committed to balanced political power, not excessive political power.
I also came around. I was against the Convention of States, but I have also, after reading and reading and reading, have become convinced that you're absolutely correct. That era we need to use. And it's unfortunate that we're even having to have this conversation, Senator, do you know? Why should we be doing this at all if the federal government would simply live within its means?
And that's the thing, right? It's like we shouldn't have to be doing this at all. But in the end, the founders understood that this day would come. They knew that this federal government would get out of control. They knew that the people would need some sort of avenue other than revolution, or as some of these haters say, um, other than other than nullification. Nullification is like a last ditch resort. Like that's something when all else fails, that we fired this arrow and they're still saying we don't care about the Constitution. If that's the case, then you start looking at nullification and different things like that. But until then, there's no. This is the way. Until then, it's all about Article 5. So just make sure, again, I know we still got about 10 people on. I'm going to be jumping off soon because I'd like to go have an adult beverage of my own. But, to anyone who wasn't on earlier, happy Independence Day. I'm just on here yapping away, trying to get people fired up, especially in the states of Pennsylvania and Ohio. And just because you're not from Pennsylvania or Ohio or New Jersey or one of those states, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be signing that petition. It doesn't mean that there's no action that you should be taking. There's action you should be taking. You should be doing it right now. It's nothing like the 4th of July to bring that out in somebody and get them to do something patriotic. And there's nothing more patriotic than taking back our country, right? So in the end, you know, this is this is what this is the path. This is the way. This is the only way to get the changes that are the solutions that are big enough to tackle the major problems. So for those who, a lot of us sat there for a long time and we were thinking, come on, how are we going to how are we going to tackle a $32 trillion debt? How are we going to tackle that? How are we going to tackle, who's going to go up against, OSHA and the EPA and who's going to do that? Well, we will. And this is how we do it. And like I said, once we get it done, is that right? I just saw Ann say you can't hear me very well. As far as if anyone else can, another one that was a thumbs up. I'm not sure. My audio seems to be working fine on my end. Joan Fox is saying thumbs up. How are you, Joan? I hope I didn't just turn this up to like distort my mic because you got me all wigged out there, Ann. I don't know, Ann. Try to turn up. Let me see the. I'm going to check one of my systems here and see. Now you got me all self-conscious, Ann. See what you did? All right. Let me try and play a video here and see what I got going on. All right. See, the mic is very faint. Let me see what I got here. All right. Is it better now? Is it too loud now? I'm not sure, but I just shut off. I guess the software had an automatic mic adjust feature that was cranking. I'm not sure. Still not good. Okay, I'm putting it up on my computer here, and it seems to be okay. All right, so now. Yeah, I'm not sure what the. It seems to be playing on my end, but I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's just because I am getting a different feed or what's going on. Checking the backdrop of my audio. Okay. All right. It looks like that's the. Yeah, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure what's going on with that. I am turning up volume on just about everything to the point where I probably shouldn't be on some things because I'm going to lose quality. How about I? How about I? How about I? All right. I think that should put us in a happy place. Yeah. Okay. So there are like 12 different controls for this. So I am going to just, in case there were people who had trouble hearing or were having issues with the audio, it looks like Ann has brought me back to the promised land from an audio perspective. So my apologies for the lower audio. It looks like the software I'm on just automatically now defaults to this auto adjust mic volume and adjusted me incredibly low. So with that being said, I want to readjust. All right. So basically, for those, and I see more people have jumped on. Happy Independence Day, folks! Happy Independence Day. Hope everyone's enjoying their family, their barbecues, all of their good stuff. I know I have I have a barrel of beer waiting for me. Not that I will drink the entire thing. That would be irresponsible. However, I will have a few along with some barbecue, etc., to enjoy the holiday. But what we've been talking about here has been convention estates, in particular the East Coast, Pennsylvania, Ohio. We're talking possibly New Jersey, Massachusetts is coming up soon. They passed committee twice. Great work by Michael Arnold there, the state director. So, you know, my push for everybody, and I know we do have quite a bit of our followers are in New Jersey, and for you, I want to let you know that this is your time. Do not let this pass without fighting. Do not let if you're not registered, if you haven't signed the petition, if you haven't taken the steps necessary to reach out to your representative and to do those things, then you need to do it now. And not just you, you need to grab every like-minded person who does feel that Congress needs term limits and that deep state needs term limits and that these staffers, et cetera, need term limits. And you do believe, or they do believe, that fiscal restraints are necessary. And they do believe that our government is overspending. And they do believe that our government is pushing the authority of regulatory agencies too far. If you do believe in these things and you know other people who do, then you need to make this push now. If it gets through, if it gets shot down in the Senate, all right, what will happen is it will push the entire process for about a year. So that's not something that we want to engage. Okay, that's not something that we want to see happen. All right, what will happen? Sorry, I'm messing around now because I have 4 or 5 different versions of this going on. And now one of these websites are playing the audio back to me, and it is indeed driving me insane. All right. I might just have to live with it because I can't figure out where the hell it's coming from. But that being said, folks, I know a lot of that came through. A lot of that came through on the lower mic volume. So I don't know. I do see that a lot of you hung with me. So I'm hoping that at least through that you were able to hear it enough, because I can't imagine someone staying on with me if it was completely illegible. But that being said, if you missed it, we were asking anyone who's watching, because we're on multiple platforms, anyone who is watching on a channel other than our YouTube channel, we're asking that you go on there, give us the subscribe, give us the bell, etc., because we are 4 subscribers away from the celebratory 1,000 number, and I would very much like to do that on Independence Day. That would just be too cool to bear, and I just feel like that this is almost like it's fate. It's almost like it's divine intervention here. So get over to YouTube, get us that subscription, click that bell, and we will keep you posted when there is action in either Pennsylvania or Ohio or Jersey, because we are following this closely. We've dedicated a good portion of our channel to this because I believe in solutions, right? I don't believe in talking all day about the problem. I believe in solutions. And upon getting through all the rhetoric on Article 5, I've come to realize that Article 5 is indeed the solution that we need, that it is the path. It is the way to make big changes, not just, not just a small piece of legislation here or a small piece of legislation there. These are the type of sweeping, large changes that this nation needs to get it back on track and really to make it impossible for Marxists to move forward any further. Right. And because finally this. Whoop. So wherever this is playing from,
convinced that you're absolutely correct.
Oh, there.
We need to use, and it's unfortunate that we're even having to have this conversation, Senator. Why should we be doing this at all if the federal government would simply live within its means?
I'm completely incapable stopping that file from going nuts. I just deleted myself out of. Oh, you know what? It was coming out of my phone, folks. That's why. It's like losing your glasses while they're on your face. So, and you were definitely right though, because on my phone I had the video playing and it got super loud when the when the video came on. So you were on to something there. So I appreciate your fix for me on the audio piece. That definitely made a difference. And again, apologies to anybody who had to tolerate the lower audio. Not sure why they defaulted to almost a zero volume, but they did, and there I was. So I think, in the end, look, when it comes down to it, you know, I've been spending a lot of time recently uh, refocusing on Article 5 because it's been kind of slow this last month or so. There hasn't been a ton of news popping out. So I'm kind of like getting my gears back in again. And we've done some, we had a lot of stuff go through. Roe v. Wade went through the Supreme Court. Has been incredibly busy. They ruled on freedom of speech. They've ruled on the Second Amendment. They've ruled on Roe v. Wade. And so, the court is definitely encouraging. So, but that's been taking up a lot of my time lately, is looking into the history of Margaret Sanger, trying to give our viewers a good picture of how Planned Parenthood was formed and those type of things. But like in the end, now they're out there. Those videos are out there. You can go check them out whenever. In the end, what matters now, we're back to the big solutions, and that's Article 5. So anybody who has questions, anybody who doesn't understand how it works, anybody who hears this runaway convention nonsense, like I've spent excellent time. I, so and says just here to help. Yep, that's right. And by the way, everyone is my phantom producer. Just kidding. Just kidding. When you hear me yell at my producer, it's really, there is no producer. It's me. I have a mirror in front of my screen. So when the producer screws up, I just yell at him. And it's inevitable when we go live that something will go wrong. I don't know. I never know what it's going to be, but it is inevitable that something will go wrong each and every time we go live. It's pretty freaking crazy. But like, in the end, I just want to get back onto Article 5 because I really wanted this to be about wishing everyone a happy Independence Day and, kind of reigniting the message of Article 5. I am going to be dropping a video in the next day or so regarding TikTok. And I will say this on that note, just a quick hit on that. If you have TikTok and, my wife has it, my daughter had it, she got rid of it on her own. But, I know there's a lot of funny dog videos and funny stuff on there, etc. But if you're not aware of what's going on with TikTok, I'm going to drop something probably tomorrow that's going to get into it a little bit more. And when I do, it's going to, because there's just recently been another drop where the FCC commissioner is now formally calling for what Donald Trump called for 2 years ago, and that's to ban Twitter in the United States. And what he wants to do right now is, first and foremost, is have Google and Apple take it out of the Play Store. Now, it can still be sideloaded at that point, but frankly, if you have it and if it's something that you're using and watching, you should know that your data is being heavily mined. Like they all of these apps mine data, but now your data is subjected to the CCP. Literally, the Chinese Communist Party is utilizing that application as well as their Chinese version to mine your data. And the company ByteDance are not friendly. They're not your friend. Okay, and that's who makes it. They're a Chinese-owned company, and every company in China is beholden to the Chinese. And now there have been leaked audio saying that it's crazy. I just want to give you the heads up. You can watch it tomorrow when it drops. But in the end, be careful with TikTok. It's not a good place. All right, the sheep's clothing that's on the front of it is not what the app is all about. It's not all about funny little videos. That's the hook. Okay, that's the hook. Once it's on your phone, that's when the darkness starts to settle in. All right. And so, before I even drop that video, now that I have these people on live, I wanted to make sure that I at least took the time to tell you to delete that thing from your phone. If you want to go there and look at the website and whatever, all right, do what you got to do. If you can't, there's other places you can get dog videos, right? And then you've got all the freakazoids on there as well. So just be careful. Look out for yourself. TikTok is not something that you want on your phone. You certainly don't want it on your children's phone. Okay, I'm telling you, it's not a conspiracy theory. The CCP is an incredible. That's the Hitler of our day, and whether we admit it or not, we're at war. In this today's day and age, this is how war is conducted. Okay, so in the end, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Stay away from it. I never had it, so I don't have to deal with it. But like, there is a part of me that wants to start an account just to get behind enemy lines and kind of, start having at it. But like, in the end, from a safety perspective and from a child's perspective, this is not the kind of. And I don't know if you're aware of what kind of content is on there, but it's not. There's a lot more than just dog videos. Let's just say that. And I'll show some of that in the video that I drop. But that's enough of that. I want to just make sure everybody is taking the effort to sign the petition. Normally, I will send you to my website, but today I am going to put out a link in the comments. I am typing it in as we speak. So this should go out to all platforms. And it is the Convention of States website where you can go ahead. That's the direct link to the Convention of States website. So I see that's been posted to Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. I might have to do manually because Rumble is kind of on its own planet. But that being said, make sure that you click that link. Make sure that you register. Make sure that you sign that petition, and then you'll likely get a phone call from one of the good people at COS. I know I did, and then they will basically talk with you and kind of get a feel for what you do and how and et cetera, what you might be able to contribute. There are a million different ways to contribute, so it's not like you have to be a major leader, et cetera. However, if you do have leadership skills, if you are someone who that in your work life you have always had leadership skills, you've always been in leadership positions. This is something that about yourself. We really could use. I mean, they really could use the fight. I say we, but the organization really can use some leaders, like some, because there are states out there that it's not that the leaders are terrible, but there are some leaders out there who are phenomenal. I mean, Michael Arnold, who we interviewed, like, I can tell that this guy's a beast. Like, I can tell. And the fact that the grassroots in Massachusetts got the resolution past 2 committees, like, that's phenomenal. That's a Herculean task to get through in Massachusetts, just to get past committees. Now, we'll see if it gets past, the House and Senate there, but just to be able to get past, like, the fact that it wasn't just laughed at and shot down in a state like Massachusetts, where it's heavily, heavily left, like, almost, from a political perspective, Marxist left. But like, there was like 14 Democrats on, and again, it brings me to the fact that this isn't partisan, right? That this is not partisan politics. This is just common sense. This is just stuff that we should know, and that we should all be able to agree on. So I'm going to throw this out because we are now 2 away. Our YouTube channel is 2 subscribers away. I feel like I'm on like a Jerry Lewis telethon. So we are 2 subscribers away on YouTube from hitting the coveted 1,000 mark. So I will leave you with that. And I do want the link for Convention of States is in the description. Use Independence Day as a time to take action on behalf of our beautiful country, and click that link and sign that petition, because that's how we, the people, start playing offense. This is how we play offense. This is how we go after them. Instead of sitting back and waiting for another psychotic move or another draconian, executive order from the president, this is how we just start. We don't ask questions anymore. We just start taking the fight to them. This is how it gets done. And frankly, the more of us that are out there, if every person was responsible for telling 10 other people, the more of us that are out there doing this, the faster this gets done. Changing not changing, but amending the Constitution, it's not easy. And it's not easy by design, right? I mean, even when we get 34 states, it doesn't mean that the Constitution's amended. That's 34 states just to get the right to go talk about what the proposed amendments will look like and what will be submitted for ratification. Then we need 38 states to come together and make it happen. But one step at a time, right? Right now we need 34 states. We need 15 more. 15 more. So if people are out there, if you're talking about it and people are giving you jazz, try to give you that runaway convention nonsense, because it can be believable at times. Judy Ramsey says, walking with you. Yeah, you know what? And we're all in this together, right, Judy? We're all in this together. So like that, and that's what it's all about, right? All Americans are really in on this thing together. This is us. This is we the people taking action on our own. Superman's not coming. No one's coming to save you. We've got to save ourselves. That's the only way the changes get done, is that we save ourselves. And so how do we save ourselves? This is what I'm providing you right now. This is how it gets done. This is the way patriots peacefully and legally use our very own Constitution for how it's written, right? We take how it's written right out of the Constitution under Article 5, and we put the process to work. We put the process to work so that everybody can have a say, right? And if you're not familiar with state legislatures, and maybe you think to yourself, oh, state legislatures, that's the same thing as federal legislatures. And why would we trust state legislatures? We don't trust the federal. They're not the same thing. They're very, very, very different. And I'll give you an idea. I believe I saved this clip, and I did. Listen to Mark Meckler, all right, when he mentions in this, and I think this is in Ohio actually, and Publius Holder had gone there and blabbered her mouth off and scared everybody. But Mark Meckler, in passing, was just saying that he had said to the senator, he's like, you do politics for a living, I do, this for, and the senator quickly stopped him and was like, I'm a farmer. Listen to this.
You do politics for a living, and politics are...
I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer.
How about not for a living?
I'm a statesman. Senator Craig and I are statesmen.
I appreciate that. You are, actually, and I see that a lot in state legislators.
Right? So you see how how he quickly jumped on and said, he quickly jumped on and was the senator did, and told him, I'm a farmer. And that's the difference right there. I kept that quote because that's the difference between a state legislator and a federal legislator. Is that state legislators, they don't even need term limits because they have no intention of being there for 40 or 50 years. Like, they go in the way the founders went in, to serve and not spend the rest of their life in service. Like, that's not the goal. You go in, you serve, you leave. On the federal level, these people go and they never come back. They never come back, which is why the term limits are necessary for them, because they're not supposed to be there for 30 years. This is not a lifestyle. It's a job. It's service. And so, but I always thought that was, I always thought that was significant. And now I got, yeah, Judy says, one more needed. Let me see that. I'm going to refresh here. Oh, set off the bells. We are at 1,000 subscribers, folks, and you are the ones to thank for that. So outstanding. Wow, that's awesome. I am so blessed, and I am very appreciative that we did get to 1,000 subscribers. And it is roughly 1 year after launching. So being a political channel, knowing we got we got suspended twice by YouTube, 2 weeks apiece. We won one of them on appeal, but it was after we had already served our 2 weeks, and so the fact that we were still able to get through, and I know I watch all these channels and how to grow your channel and how to do this and that, but none of this stuff ever applies to us, because in the end, what it means is what they're saying are for things for like gaming channels or cat video channels. And I mean, some of the advice, like have good thumbnails, or have a good title and this and that, those apply. But like, as far as the content distribution, like, we've had videos with like a 15% click rate that got put in front of like no one. So it's like they put it in front of 100 people, so we get 15 views out of it, instead of, if it were that cat video or whatever and it was getting a 15% click rate, it would go nuts. Hey, Michelle, she said Judy just sent me here. Well, I appreciate you, Michelle. You definitely, I wish I had the bells and such ready, because I didn't even realize we were as close as we were. I noticed it just right before I went live. But Michelle, I do appreciate you're jumping on. Judy, I appreciate you for helping out with that, to get us over, pushing us over that finish line. Here's an interesting name, Fart Night. So it says, you ever go fishing? On occasion. I am not an avid fisher, but I do enjoy the tranquility, peace, and quiet of that activity. So for sure. But wow. All right. Now maybe this turns into a celebratory thing. Now I have a reason to go have that beer. So, but again, I do want to thank, I'll probably put out another quick video tomorrow. Jack and I, Michael, we're going to go live Wednesdays anyway. Every Wednesday, if you don't know, we'll be live 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. I am in the People's Republic of California. Jack is over in Georgia now, but because I'm in the People's Republic of California, we have to let me get out of work. So, I'd love to do this for a living, but in reality, I have to work just like everyone else. So, I'm stoked now. I'm stoked that we got the 1,000 subscribers. I was hearing from a lot of the creators and a lot of channel guide people that 1,000, if you're on a good pace, you should have 1,000, by in around a year, barring a viral video or something like that. Like if you're just trucking along, you should have 1,000 followers within, or 1,000 subscribers on YouTube within a year. That was the barometer, and now we're there. And that was the barometer when you're not doing political content, right? That was the barometer when you're not getting suspended by, but for every little thing that you say and every little thing that you do, without the shadow banning, without all that. So, let's see. All right. So, let me see. Yeah. Woohoo. Cheers. That's right. That's right. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm sure Jack appreciates it on your behalf. I can appreciate it for him on his behalf, because it is not easy. I mean, it's been a struggle. It's been a fun one, though. I enjoy doing this, and especially nowadays where I work for a company that's very woke. I'm a straight white male. It's not a good situation to be in. A lot of things are changing there. I don't know how long an old dog like me will be able to hang in. So with all that happening, and I start to look to reinvent myself and redo things, this channel would be a phenomenal outlet for me to be able to move forward with that. And I know Jack is in a very similar situation. So, both of us work in the tech sector. We both got heavily disrupted when the vaccine mandate came out. I did stick to my guns. I never got vaccinated. It did put me out of work for a little while, but I came back, and now there's other issues there and whatever. But in the end, like, we're both in this fight together, and we would love nothing more than to be able to just go ahead and preach Article 5 and preach Constitution, and preach Americana and righteousness, and really just, this is as much work as it's been, this has really been the labor of love. Like this really is, you know, the amount that I've learned in the last year from just video editing and you know, and music interaction and things of that nature and research, and you know, there's so much development that has happened, you know, that it says so Andrebeck says Michelle's another. Oh yeah, is that right? All right, well, awesome, yeah, we're supporters there. I mean, his website and all that, like when I went there, we were talking about this last time with Jack. You know, when we went there, he was because you know, Jack was telling me all about it, and I kind of looked through and said, "Well, is he for convention or states or against?" But when I went and read through the website, it was clear that our values were in line, and that this was someone who we can benefit from in the Senate. So you know, I do hope, you know, everything goes awesome there. I know Jack's pretty dialed in to that campaign, and he's been in contact with different members of the campaign and such, just kind of, you know, getting talking different stuff and getting different stories and things like that. Or so it's pretty awesome. But it's good to have you on, and I appreciate, you know, I appreciate the help right now. It was just an interesting time to be on, as we were just creeping by the subscribers. So having that 1,000, it just looks really cool up there, the 1K. So but it is getting to the hour, so I am going to go ahead and let it go now. But you know, Ann, thank you. Um, Everybody else who came on, even Fart Night there from Twitch, who commented, Michelle and Judy. Thank you all, folks. I do appreciate you. Leave us, you know. Wait, do I have another one? Oh, everybody is. Oh, awesome. All right, awesome. So, well, then, you know what? Everyone's a Pitt support. Is it Pittin or Python? I think it's Pittin, right? It's if everybody's a Pittin supporter, you're all supporting me. Then, you know, like I said, I've already seen the guy's stuff. I looked through all of his stuff personally, and I am a supporter of him anyway. I'm not in Illinois, so I don't get the benefits of I don't get the benefits of him winning. I get to stay in the People's Republic of California here, and be in the lion's den, if you will, or in the, you know, in the pit. But it is what it is. But in the end, though, I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much for your support. You know, woohoo, we're there, right? We got there. We're over 1,000. I don't even know if Jack's watching right now, because he has no idea that I was going to go live. I just totally just jumped on and did it. And we got a pretty decent response from it across the platforms. So I appreciate that from everyone as well, especially for those who hung in there while we were a little bit, while the volumes were a little off kilter. It was a really low volume. I appreciate everyone hanging on. Wednesday nights, Jack and I will be together talking about the week's issues. And then tomorrow, it will likely drop tomorrow. We'll see how the rest of July 4th goes, but it should drop tomorrow. I will be dropping a video on TikTok, just opening up that conversation about what it really is and why you should be concerned about it, or at least be aware of what's going on there, and maybe even get into some of the propaganda madness that goes on TikTok. When you see it, you know, you think one thing, but when you realize that when you realize that it's actually the CCP, then that's where it becomes creepy, right? Because it's not like it's creepy enough when it's Google or Facebook, but when it's friggin' the CCP, like now it takes it to another level. It's already been banned off government phones, as it should have been when Trump brought this to light 2 years ago, or whatever intelligence officers brought it to light to him. But we're going to talk about that in that video. We're also going to talk about the topic on. We're also going to talk about the topic on Wednesday. It'll be a part of our collage, not to mention anything that comes from your comments that we will always talk about. But yeah, so Nancy, congratulations. Thank you, Ann. Thank you. We are stoked. I can't wait to call Jack and let him know where we're at with this. But yeah, it's a lot of fun that we've got here, and I'm looking forward to great things from the channel going forward. All right, folks. Until then, Make sure you get and sign that petition. Make sure the link is in the comments for every one of the platforms, so there's no excuse. Get in there, click the link, sign the petition, find out who your representative is. And if you're from Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, one of those East Coast areas, you're probably coming up soon. So this is the time to get that, right before they go and vote is when you want him to hear a slew of people. So get your 5, 10 friends, whoever you can get them all to sign, get them all to write in, and get them all to engage. All right. Until then, I'm out, folks. Happy Independence Day.
And like that,